Join us and see what life looks like from a medium's perspective with Tracey Lockwood, the medium's medium. We'll explore the tools of psychic development, hear stories and experiences from the other side, and learn to listen to our natural intuition. Now, our host, Tracey Lockwood.
Hello, beautiful lights, and welcome to another episode of From a Medium's Perspective. For those of you that have video, you're already curious about who today's guest is, and I'll tell you about her in just a minute. But before I do, I just wanted to remind you that if you're interested in developing your abilities, I offer private one-on-one classes in mediumship and channeling and certification and also psychic development, etc. And that is taught via Zoom, which is a live webinar format. If you're looking at the screen, you'll know that this is what it would look like. And I also offer group training. Twice a year, I offer a 12-week certification program, and twice a year, I offer a channeling 4-week program. So anyway, so if you're interested, you can find out more information on my website at mediumtraceylockwood.com. So today, and I'm going to tell you about her before I give you her name. We have a guest from the Netherlands, and she graduated from the Academy of Art as a designer, and she worked as a designer and stylist for a while. And then she changed to interior design, and she's still working as that quite successfully within her country and also for international clients that come and go. And she is also a medium and spirit artist, and she does spirit portraits, which is an extremely specialized field within our discipline. You know, spirit art is common to many mediums. There are a lot of us that do one form of it or another. And she does other types of things as well. And she also teaches it. So she is a specialist in the field, and I would like to welcome to our show, Angelique van Bezouwen. Did I say your name correctly?
Almost.
Say it for us.
Angelique van Bezouwen.
Angelique van Bezouwen.
Yes.
All right.
Name.
And I apologize for not asking you that before we got started.
No problem.
Okay, gotcha. So in addition to what I mentioned, your work has been published in 4 books.
Yes.
And you've been interviewed. I'm going to start this and clip this part out. Help, everything fine that I just did right there.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
She has also worked her work has been published in 4 books by Maximilian de Lafayette in the Times Square Press, New York. She has been interviewed in a couple of magazines of prominence within the field, professional journals within the field. And she is among, and I have to look down to read this because this is really incredible. She is among the world's most 30 recommended light workers, ranked 5-star. She is in the Light Workers World Hall of Fame. She's among the best spirit artists worldwide. One of the best, she was rated the best spirit artist in Europe and in Holland, and one of the best psychics in Holland, and the most favorite light worker in 2017 and 18. And I think if you are getting to feel her vibe here, you understand why that would be. She is just precious. And I'd like to welcome to the show Angelique van Bezouwen.
Thank you, Tracy. What a lovely introduction. And thank you for having me in this show.
Oh, you are so welcome. A lot of our guests like to snoop on, I mean, a lot of our listeners like to snoop on our guests. I'm sure our guests would like to snoop on our listeners. And so if you're curious, you're listening in, you want to find out more about Angelique, then you can do so at her website at Spirit Portraits, plural, .nl for
Yes.
Netherlands. Okay?
It is under construction, but you can also already see some work. Yes.
Okay. And maybe by the time they listen, this show on YouTube, it will be up and ready and rolling. So look for her and Google some of those great titles and you'll find her somewhere on the web. So thank you so much, Angelique, for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Because this show's called From a Medium's Perspective, I wanted to ask you how doing what you do, both the psychic work that you do, I know as a spirit artist, you're automatically a medium, and being and seeing the world from that angle of a spirit artist, how has that changed or shifted your view on life? What has that done for you?
Well, when somebody passes, it is very hard because, recently my dad passed and I miss him terribly, but I also am able to every now and then have a chat with him. So it feels you maybe feel less devastated than other people because our loved ones are so close. And when we start connecting with the spirit world to either draw a portrait or sit in the power to raise our energy, that moment you encounter love, so much love, as you may know, of course, as your medium yourself. So there are two parts of that. So one part is you feel the warmth and the light and the love from where we all came.
Yes, that connection.
And so you understand more about the process of your life being here on Earth. And we also are able to talk and communicate with people who are no longer in the physical. So it broadens your minds, and lots of things are less important. Little arguments are not that important. Having a big house is not that important because it's not about that. It is.
There's so much more.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. I think that's one of the most profound answers to that question I've heard on the show. Seriously, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So our connection to our loved ones and seeing things from the big picture, that really is very personal impact. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So my listeners know I love stories, so
I know.
I wondered if maybe you would tell us a story of your life and how you ended up doing this. This is kind of a particular niche.
Well, let me see. A couple of years ago, I read an article in a magazine that there was going to be a demonstration of Mavis Patilla in the Netherlands. And I never knew about mediumship. I never knew about psychics, but my mom also read the article and we agreed we're going to see that. We're going to see this demonstration. And then out of the blue, my mom got a contact. And it was all in English and it was going so fast. And so I had questions. And in the break, I saw Mavis and I said to her, may I ask you a question? And we chatted and then she said to me,
Mavis Patilla?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you ever been to England, my dear? And I said, no. And then she said, well, you really should. And then I found myself a couple of months later, out of the blue, on my way to the Art of Findlay College.
Ah, one of my favorite places, Hogwarts.
Our home.
Uh-huh.
And then a year later, it was about 6 years ago, I started education in the Netherlands for developing my mediumship and training and to learn all about it. And we went to the Art of Findlay College for the Dutch and Danish week that was on that time.
Uh-huh.
Then you know that you arrive on Saturday and you queue up in a line with students to get your little assessments by the tutors, and they point you to a class. And I was appointed to the art class, and I was so disappointed because I came to do, evidential mediumship. I wanted to have evidence, and but at that time, and I thought, well, why would I come here to do some coloring and some work with paint and colors? And I couldn't see the fun or the interesting part of it.
Yeah.
But then later on, that turned that week, because at Wednesday, and I was in Lynn Cottrell's class, she said, let's do a portrait. I thought, okay. And I drew a portrait for the first time of a spirit communicator. And it wasn't the best portrait ever. I don't even want to show you.
Oh, I understand, yes.
But some resemblance and evidence that came with it, and the message was well received. And from that moment on, I was thinking, wow, this is it. This is what I want to do.
And that is some serious evidence too.
Yes, because I now realize that a portrait or a painting could tell 1,000 words, even more when the likeness is okay, or there's some likeness, and you can give it some extra verbal evidence that comes with it. It is so much more. So I was so wrong, and I was so happy afterwards that I was drawn to that group. So
What a great connection. And I guess they are psychic over there or something to have known where to put you. I have to interject. Don't lose your story. Well, it's yours, you won't. But anyway, when I had gone there, all three of my teachers, I took 3 classes, covered about 2 weeks of time. And in the readings that I got from them, all 3 of them were like, why aren't you teaching and doing private readings? And I was thinking, what? Like, and I had no idea, but that's what I started doing in 2011 when I came back. So,
wow, wonderful.
And I'm still doing, and I love it.
Yes.
They were right.
Strange.
How strange, yes. So go ahead.
Must be psychic.
They must have been psychic, right? So from there, yes.
From there, when we came back to the Netherlands, I met a friend, and she said, well, there is the Spiritualist National Union International. It is an audio room in which people meet, and you can get some trainings, and there are lots of tutors, but for you, there is an art tutor, And so I joined as an UI, and there was my most wonderful teacher, Coral Ryder. And I went to her classes every week, and we were able to practice our portraiture and our hourglaphs. And unfortunately, she's not on SNUI anymore, but she has been so helpful and supportive to all of her students. And she also asked us, please study, practice. And that is what I did, and
I
it took me to a
want
higher
to,
level.
so sorry, I want to just say one more thing. For those of you listening, she mentioned a term that might be less familiar to you. When I was at AFC, I also had an aurograph done for me by Minister Stella Upton. And I just wondered if you would explain for our listeners what an aurograph is.
Yes, well, the aurograph is officially defined as the artistic representation of the human aura. But in our words, it is an artist impression of the images you get when you tune into somebody else's energy, into the auric field.
Sort of like a recording of the clairvoyant images that are coming.
Yes, but it can be different because last week I did send in an aurograph to someone, and when I never met her, but I only had her photo, and when I saw her photo, the first thing that came to my mind was music. Beautiful music and colors, and sometimes I get images, or I just know there has to be nightingale in this aurograph, or I just know I need a lot of green, or so later on you start understanding, but this is all stored in our aura, all this information, and we express it or with an aurograph, and this can be done in many different ways. I try to make my quite realistic, but you can also do abstract, as it is just a tool for reading.
Yeah, my energetic sketches tend to be, I didn't realize there was a term called archetypical, but I was doing things like seeing two columns, or I think I drew the chariot being pulled by a black and white polar bear. I'd never seen the tarot deck at that time. And so, yeah, it's interesting, the symbols and the pictures. Sometimes it would be people's guides. I don't, I could probably sketch people that I see in spirit, but I'm usually so busy conveying their messages that I don't slow down to do it. And then that, sometimes they stay with you, that image stays with you. So from there, sorry, yes, I just wanted to clarify aurograph, A-U-R-A graph, aurograph, yes.
Yeah. So I can't recall where
you were taking a workshop where you did both spirit portraiture and aurograph, I think.
Yes, it was not actually, it is a membership. I'm still a member.
Oh, through the SNUI, yes.
Yes, you can go every time you want to. But then also I went several times to the Art of Music College to develop my mediumship. And as an artist, you need to develop both the mediumship and the art part to become the best you can be. And of course, my greatest wish would to give people Rembrandt, of course. I draw a Rembrandt of your mum.
Right. Well, judged by the kudos that you've earned, the accolades that you've earned, I'm gathering you are quite talented. This is kind of impromptu, and I should have asked you before. Do you have something nearby that's an example?
Ooh.
Or could you grab one?
No, because most of them I did send in, of course, to my clients. At the moment, I don't even have a stock.
Oh, yeah, I started keeping a copy of my work. I would run it through a photocopier and then keep the photocopy and give them the original.
I do have photos on my computer.
Okay, well, they can visit your website as it is constructed. No worries. Yes. So, maybe would you share with us an experience that you had in working with spirit and connecting with spirit that way that just pops into your mind that was a good example of a combination of your mediumship and, well, it's always mediumship with spirit art, but yes.
Yes.
What story pops to
Well, today, of course, in preparation of our interview, I went to my files and computer and I just noted Auntie Josie. And Auntie Josie was, I drew her for a beautiful lady I was about to meet. But I didn't know I had drawn Auntie Josie because we were just having a nice meeting and I thought I'd bring her a present, and I opened my drawer, I pulled out special paper for water paint, and with just brusho I painted quickly portrait. Then I went to see her and I said, I have something for you. And she said, this looks like my gran. Do you have information about her? And I said, well, this and so. And she said, yes, this is definitely my gran.
Wow.
And then she said, yeah, that was nice.
I love it.
Then she said, I'll make some notes at the back. And then she turned the drawing. And then there was Auntie Josie. And I had no recollection of having ever drawn that portrait. It has been drawn maybe a year ago before, and it was the face down in the drawer. So when I gave her the portrait of her gran, her auntie was on the other side.
Oh, how cool is that? That's wonderful.
Yes, it was. And it is so lovely because sometimes I feel like, okay, I had enough. I'm going to stop. I don't want to do it anymore. And then you get those little gifts from the spirit world. They surprise you. They're so intelligent. So she has now two portraits on one piece of paper.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Tell me another story, maybe about some reaction a client had about a painting that was unexpected, positive or negative for you.
Well, maybe it's just with the autographs. The first commission work I did for an autograph, I was very emotional sending this in, and because I never see the recipient, just a photo, and she called me already. Oh, it's going to come, and I'm so anxious to see it. And she opened it, and she called me and cried, and she cried. So, and I myself too, because it was so meaningful to her what I had drawn, and the reading that was written for her, because the autographs comes with a written reading. People can read this afterwards or again, or and this is an uplifting and empowering reading.
Oh, yes.
To give people, new tools for the future and the present moment. So this is what really struck me lately, and I did. Let me see what also. Yes, it's.
I was just thinking about people's emotion. It does catch them off guard. They may not think of themselves as skeptical, or they might hope that it's real, or they might be skeptical, but when that connection happens, whether it's through portraiture or through a connection with a spirit, they can feel it. And
Yes.
it is highly emotional.
Yes.
It's not just like, I don't think anyone would be moved by someone saying, well, I'm sensing that your father is here, or something like that. Like, they'd be just like, this is a drama queen and she's a total shyster. But the authenticity of mediumship, when that evidence, and we in the field always talk about evidentiary mediumship. And I have clients that are like, I'm so happy to meet someone who doesn't feel like they have to prove it to me, but it just comes out in the reading, and it feels like a visit with that person. And it is profound. It is really profoundly moving when that, even me, like, I talked to my dad who's passed about 20 years ago quite easily. It's not a problem at all, but when he comes through in a significant way through my students or through another medium, I'm also moved to tears because it brings back memories we've forgotten. It brings back we call it the personality, but it's so much more than that. It's that personal connection to that individual, and that is so different between people. Like, it's different whether somebody is like a mother and a daughter are going to have a different connection to their father and husband. They're going to have a different bond with him. For me, I do private readings only for that reason, but many people are multi-talented and can handle more people. I just choose to focus on the quiet connection there. And I just think what you do is so very personal to people. Like, and the thing that I like too about that, and when I was just sketching, it was like a little oracle card or tarot card, the personal for them to take home that reminded them of the message, but with a portrait. It's something to wonder at, it's something to remind you later down the line. I have a friend who's also a spirit artist here. Her name is Karen Chris Sampson, and she drew my guide, Primrose, immediately after I met her with no knowledge of that. And there were particular things about that picture that, first of all, she looked identical to what she looked like in my clairvoyant vision, which blew my mind.
Wow.
And second, there were details about the picture that had been confirmed in other ways for me. So with a portrait, I've never actually had someone draw a portrait. I think I will be contacting you seriously about that.
That would be nice.
I would love to have you.
It's not always being recognized, though, I must say. Immediately, there are many things why a recipient cannot directly say, okay, this is my mom, this is my dad. And this has to do with our memory. Sometimes the memory needs to be jogged, like, okay. Sometimes it just happens when you're driving home and think, oh my God, yes, she was right. I forgot about it.
Yes.
Sometimes, with ladies, that now we have short hair, then we have long hair, then we have brunettes, then we have curly blonde hair. So these are things also. And there are also things like we can't recall or we couldn't know.
Yes.
I once drew a guy with a mustache. And the recipient said, well, my father never had a mustache. I said, I'm sorry, but this is the way he shows himself to me.
Yes.
And then later on, she rang me and she said, well, I've been through the books, the photo albums, and I found a picture of my dad with a mustache. So it was long, long, long time ago, long before she was born. And sometimes, it's recently I made a drawing for someone. Actually, I made 3. I planned to do one, but I thought I need to do another one, and I thought I need to do another one. And it ended that one was the one in the middle was for him, and the other ones found their way home, as I call it. They found their way to the recipient. Wow. But as you know, when we make contact with spirit world, they are in line to communicate with us. And sometimes they grab the opportunity. I say grab, it's not meant negative, because, what would you do when you're in the spirit world and you know that there would be a way to contact your children or your loved one.
You would do nearly anything to...
Yes, they did try to come along and see if they can communicate.
Yeah, that happens in readings for me sometimes. I'll not always a different person. Sometimes it has happened that way, but often I'll hear tell her sister this. And I'll say, he's or she's referring to your sister. You have a sister, yes. And the message will make sense for that person and get passed along through there.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Oh, how beautiful.
Thank you. But you know, even with guides, like you said earlier, I once drew a guide for a fellow student, and well, I was very much into evidence at that day and at that time, and he said, "Could you draw me my guide, please?" I said, "No, they're non-evidential, and maybe I'm going to draw an Indian, and how can I prove everybody seems to have an Indian as a guide," and so on. So I was a bit negative about it, not feeling comfortable with the idea, because how can we prove? For you, it is instantly clear, like, okay, I know the face, I can recognize it. Then months later, I thought, oh, I promised, or I've given a guide, a portrait, I'll do it. And actually, he turned out to be its birthday that week. I didn't know, and so I sent him the portrait with the evidence, and it was so nice because he knew some things about his guide, and I knew something about his guide.
Yes.
And it brought down to a photo of 5 scientists, and he said to me, "Look, it is the second from the right. I have this photo for a long time, but you helped me find my guide, and he lived here on Earth, and he was a scientist." So
there's the evidence. Yeah, it's very interesting. Traditionally, mediumship is spirits, period. People that have passed, and they aren't your guides. They're caring about you, but they're not your guides. And so that's how I differentiate the levels of the certification program. If someone is connecting with guides and angels, that's beautiful, but it's still considered at the psychic level, even though it's kind of on the interface between the two. And I find it a very useful mechanism. I know some people just sort of jump from psychic directly into mediumship, but I like working with guides and angels because it is part of discerning spirits. And so maybe knowing who's working with you and feeling the separate energies that work about you. Ultimately, like now, I don't identify my guides to my client. I don't go this one and this one and this one and this one. I have 18 or 21 now that I'm aware of, maybe more than that actually. I have to make a fresh list, and I know their personality, where they came from, et cetera, and why they're with me. But I do think that, as you mentioned, for specifically keeping it pure, like mediumship being spirit communication, giving evidence that they actually live and exist and are connected with us, is the farthest reach of that spectrum of intuitive gifts, and just like spirit art supports mediumship, psychic supports mediumship, and vice versa too, because it's all an intuitive spectrum,
Yes, and I think in general it is actually more, when I just first started, I thought it had to be that way, to the guidelines, but I'm more into today what is needed.
What is needed for that person. Yes. I've been to a physical medium, Hoyt Robinette, and his pictures are spirit precipitated. He doesn't actually touch the paper. It's precipitated on the front and the back in a basket while you wait. And it's always been my guides coming through, although the names of my loved ones will be on the back too. So it's just curious. It's very curious. And I'm open to anything. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the more that we say it's impossible, or allow things to happen that are good for us and beautiful, the better life gets.
Yes, and it is like, also for me, the more we know, the less we know, and we see more. The more you learn, the more you study, the more you practice, the more you do, you see new horizons every time. It's like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Seeing
I agree. I agree.
yeah.
In your work, well, first I want to say, is there some aspect of what you do that you'd like to share before we go into maybe something that could help our listeners? Is there something that you would like to oh yeah, this is one that came through my mind actually, and I just saw it on your list. Thank you. So do you allow people to ask for a specific person and then you get that impression, or do you not work that way? How do you tell us about your process? Let's the whole thing there.
Okay. When somebody wants me to draw a spirit or a loved one, someone who has passed away, I go sit in the power, mostly at home, and I start to lift up my energy and invite a communicator for the recipient. And of course, I send out my thoughts to the spirit world. If your father would like to come, that would be lovely. But in the end, we know that we don't decide. It is like what is needed at the moment, or it can be too emotional. So somebody else may come first to give confidence, and then the second one may be the right one. I leave it up to the spirit world. I send out the intent, and I asked for them to come forward, and then I start to draw. And why do I do it at home? Because I want to give a really good portrait. Yes. And I notice when next month I'm going to do a demonstration with colleagues, I only have 10 minutes to draw a portrait. And then the quality is not as I would like it to be. It is relevant at that moment because people are being helped, they are being comforted. But when I draw at home, I want to really make a beautiful portrait.
Yes.
So I start to draw, and then I write down information at a piece of paper. And most of the times, then I can send it in with the information, and we could reconnect at, for instance, at Skype. Meet again if there are questions or something else, and we can have some time together. Sometimes the contact comes again, which is hard because we can always work from memory, and this is not what we want, because
that's such a good point. That's such a good point. Yeah, no retreads. Keep it fresh.
No. And the last time I did that was very lovely because someone from New York asked me to draw a portrait from his loved one, and I did, and it wasn't recognized immediately. And then he showed me the photo, and I said, but it's her. But I had drawn her hair backwards, and her hair was hanging down. So I went to the program Paint and drew over the hair, the long hair, and then said, yes, it's her. But when we were talking, his mom just dropped by, and she said just a few sentences, but enough to know for him it was his mom, although he wanted to speak about his loved one in the spirit world. And of course, his mom was also his loved one, but in a different perspective.
Yes.
So this is what could happen. And but when I do an autograph, I ask people to please send me a photo of you. It's not always necessary. We could also just use a name and tune into the energy. Then I make a design of like all the things that come into my head. They have a specific place or position in the artwork. And then I transfer it to beautiful paper, which is archival. So people can keep it, and I use archival pencils and so with the right light fastness. And then I work days to make a beautiful autograph. It's like a painting, and it's almost 4 to 5 days drawing then. And the moment I have this design for the autograph, it's very basic, it's very simple. But when I'm working on it, and every now and then I try to tune in again to the recipient, new things pop up. So one made a tulip, a parrot tulip for someone, and in the
a tulip?
A tulip, yes, and they call it a parrot tulip.
Parrot tulip. Yes, sorry.
Oh, sorry for that. And while I was working on that tulip, an Indian appeared at the side of the face of an Indian, and I didn't have this in the original design. So it's not that I'm constantly tuning, but when I work, you get in this altered state. You forget time, you forget your surroundings, you find yourself in the dark with cold feet when you're back and think, oh, I really need to make my dinner.
Yes.
Yeah, you're in this flow, and then lots of things appear.
Talk to us a little bit about how color works with spirit portraiture or aurograph.
Mostly it is done in aurograph, so in portraiture it can be two, but most of them are black and white. And sometimes I do pastel paintings as well. Well, favorite colors can appear in portraits, or like your father might have liked to wear light blue shirts. They can appear like that. It can also tell about character, and this is mostly in autographs. All colors have their meaning of its own, and there are books about colors. We can study about color, but it is always very specific to the recipient. So, for instance, if we take yellow, yellow can be sun, it can be joy. It can also mean you're very much a mind person. It's also a meaning. It can also mean you're very, very precise. So
very interesting you chose yellow. I didn't say it earlier, but that's Primrose's color, my guide's color. So you're doing it again, you don't even know.
Your teacher and just telling you to study and study, Tracey, isn't it?
And every point that you made about the color yellow. This is my year to have fun. Start having fun.
So yellow is fun,
and precision and perfectionism, completing work and detail oriented. That's me.
But I also would believe that with you, blue would be very prominent in your autograph as well.
Yes, it is. You are exactly right. When people look at my aura field, those are the two colors that first come forward.
Yeah, because the blue is like the color of teaching.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yes.
Okay, but it's also a color of healing and all
communication. Yeah.
And communication.
Oh, blue also for healing.
Yes.
That
and
makes sense.
Writing. And Maria, so that is the need to be pure and to be, true, and not saying any nonsense or things you don't believe in yourself. So, but it could for somebody else mean something different.
Yes, it's very interesting. And the tone of the color, and whether it's silky or whether it's darkened, or
like
the hue. What's the thing that if you were to add white or black to paint, that
because light blue could mean for somebody else that you're not it is not easy for you to express yourself, so it could have a sort of opposite meaning as well.
The shade of things.
But as it is in your crowd, it is like a tool for me to read somebody and to understand what does it mean for that person.
And how magical to have the result so that it's visual for them too. You know, we sense it, feel it, hear it, know it, but that's sort of like, you know, in the air for people. I joke sometimes with my mom, I'm like, I don't know, I'm making a living out of thin air.
I'm talking to dead people.
Right. But I am really sure that it means a tremendous amount to the people that receive one of your works, and it's a lifelong treasure. It doesn't
Yes, and that is why I want to give it quality. It's so important for me not to just do a quick drawing. It needs I want people to feel the love in it, and to receive it really as present, you know, as something beautiful, or something to last, or you're not just like, oh, this is it, and throw it away. It has to have meaning. And it was very nice that the autograph I did send in last week, the lady said, I'm going to hang it on my wall. I'm going to frame it, hang it on the wall, and every time I feel down or not motivated, I'm going to look at your graph, and then I feel strong again, feel empowered, and this is what I want. You know, we can do it in many ways. Lately, I had a question. Somebody said, "Oh, are we going to do our graphs this way today?" I said, "No, this is the way I want to do it." And of course, every medium attracts different people. There's one for everyone. But
yes, that's a really good point. And another reason for this show is to demonstrate that we're not all alike either. Nor, you know, we may have commonalities in base philosophy about how something should be done. Code of ethics is across the board for anyone working in the field. If they don't, then they're clearly unethical. But you know, those of us that are serious and it's professional for us to do this, we have a high code of ethics. Yeah, there are a lot of things, but the personal expression and the way that people reach out with their abilities is so amazing, so amazing. The variety and other modalities woven in between.
Yes, yes.
You know, some people using the label, some people not using the label, but doing the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's all okay as long as people are being helped in a proper way and in a responsible way.
Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah, it's really always an honor. I know you feel it too, to be that conduit of information and energy. I was thinking also in your work that the stroke and the choice of line and all of that reflects the energy of that person too. I'm sure that varies according to personality.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, is there an exercise that you would kindly share with our listeners at the end of our hour? And I don't want to miss a chance to educate them. So,
a beginner exercise, but also for people who want to learn more about color, because we talked a lot about color. And what helped me to understand color more is to feel color. I remember recording of Gordon Higginson, who told the students, you need to talk to the color. And but for me, it is also like feeling the color. So what you could do,
yes.
Yeah, but what you could do is go to a shop and buy some ribbons in different colors, like yellow, blue, green, red, orange, purple, brown, maybe 6, 7 colors. Then put them in a basket and be aware that they are all have the same sort of feel and quality. So that one broad one and one smaller one. Then, because when you grab into your basket with your eyes closed, you would immediately know, oh, the brown was a small one, so I have brown. So the intention is you close your eyes, you have put your ribbons into a little basket, and then you pull out one with your eyes closed, and then you start to feel, and you try to feel, is this red or is this yellow? And then you start to recognize the vibration of the color. And then you may open your eyes and see if you're right or wrong. And the more you do it, the better you come at it. And you can even add more, like light blue or an in-between color or violet or something like that. But then you start to feel you have, for instance, the yellow in your hand. How do I feel with this color? What does this color tell me? So I think this is quite a nice exercise. And if you don't have ribbons, you can use colored paper, but cut them in the same sizes, or even like a box of crayons in colors. You know, it's just that you have the variety and the same feel. And this can give you more knowledge, what it means to you, because we have everything in writing. And it is very helpful. Sometimes when we're stuck, it is nice to Google, what does white mean for another person? And it might trigger your mind. Oh yes, I forgot about that. But it's also very important what it means to you, but what kind of feeling it gives to you. And do you think that would be a helpful exercise?
I think that's an incredible exercise, and it develops different aspects of people's mediumship and psychic ability by doing so.
Yes.
You know, we have to still ourselves and get to that place of, I call it where time stops.
Yes.
And when time stops, it's like you enter this new vibrational level where you can perceive. And yes, I think that's wonderful. Psychometry, fix it up that way. Recognizing energy when you see and feel it. I can think of several ways that would be.
And it's also when you want to tune in somebody's aura, you may just feel something, but lots of people don't see really the colors of the aura. They just know the color.
Yes, yes, it doesn't necessarily register that way. Yes.
You sense the energy, and then you can recognize, this gives me the feeling of, no. So when you tune into somebody, so it's an extra tool. Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for that. Wonderful, wonderful. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much, Angelique van Bezouwen. And if you want to reach Angelique, her website will be up and running soon. It's spiritportraits.nl for Netherlands. And thank you again. You've been a very beautiful, gentle, shining guest today.
Thank you so much, Tracey. But it is so easy when you're with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And for our listeners, I just wanted to remind you that it is never inappropriate to be kind. And without integrity, you have nothing. See you next week.